Perfect. Yep, I just hit record, so feel free to kick us off, Jason, and then kick it over to Tony and James.
Perfect. All right. Well, thanks for joining, everyone. And if you're listening to this on recording, thanks for listening and viewing. Today, we are going to go through, we have a couple different presenters. And if you're new to the Salesforce Manufacturing Virtual User Group, welcome. If you are returning, welcome back. And ultimately, what we're trying to do with this group last year, we really made a push to get things off and running with a cadence in terms of what we're actually, meeting up every month. Are we talking about Salesforce releases? And then ultimate goal is to kind of grow the group and especially for 2023, put a bit more structure behind it, start getting a bit more marketing out there, and really start to hit the ground running with everything. But with that said, I want to at least kind of do a quick intro of today's presenters, and then we can dive into the actual content. So we are first going to interview, so Tony from the Mountain Point team is going to interview James from NAC, and I'll let them kind of give a bit of an intro to themselves in just a moment. And then we also have a lot from the IGNX side, and that is, we have, we have Andrew, we have Logan, and we have Taylor, and they're going to be helping just with some of the more relevant manufacturing spring 2023 release notes. So with that being said, we're going to stop my part of the talking and really get into the Tony, if you want to kick things off, do a little intro, talk, and then have James do an intro, and then you guys can roll.
Sounds good. Thanks, Jason. Appreciate it. So my name's Tony Vagnarini. I'm the head of pre-sales and ERP here at Mountain Point. I'm joined with Mr. James Carlton at NAC. James, give your title and where you're at NAC. Audio. I think you're on mute. Sorry.
There we go. Gotta love that stuff. Still haven't got used to that. James Charlton, Director of Product Marketing, but I'm also overseeing our implementation project for Salesforce B2B, and Rootstock all at the same time. So a little bit of chaos over here at any given moment.
All good. That's why you're here, man. Appreciate you carving some time out. We'll go ahead and get right into it. I think the purpose of the conversation, this initial conversation with James, which hopefully you guys will hear more of him and their journey and their digital transformation efforts over the last couple of years. But today we're going to strike primarily on the pre-sales qualification. NAC Group is going through a massive overhaul of their technology. So our conversation today is around how they selected that technology and going through kind of some of those efforts. So James, tell us about NAC Group and overall their business and their strategy.
Kind of a unique business case for us, even in our own industry. We're a manufacturer, a electronic component distributor, and also do IT and peripheral equipment as well. So we've got a pretty diverse product group that we offer to our customers, and it's complicated. I think one of our biggest challenges has been figuring out how do we get all of that under just a couple hoods. So it's been quite the challenge and quite the feat that the team's helped me out with here.
Yeah, absolutely. What business challenges has NAC faced in the past, or I guess currently, with your legacy technology, as far as your platform, your applications, your overall data structure? What challenges are you facing with that from a business perspective?
So one of the major things that we really ran into is so much of our data was segmented into different platforms. And one of our biggest key points that we had as far as selecting the new platform we were going to go forward with was we wanted to make sure that we could keep everything all centralized into as one environment as much as we absolutely possibly could. We've been pretty successful with that so far. in going through this implementation project. But I think we had 7 different systems that we were working out of prior to, once we go live with this new environment. So for us, the key thing that we had to do is we had to centralize all of our data to, have it weaponized for our sales staff and everybody else, so they weren't bouncing around all day in different systems. Our old legacy system didn't integrate with anything, so it made it just completely difficult to keep it on board. So we selected to move into this Salesforce environment with Rootstock and Salesforce B2B for our e-commerce platform.
Fantastic. And I mean, pretty sure we know the answer to this question, but how did those several siloed systems create challenges when it comes to your engagement with your customers and your partners? Knowing your business well, how is that a struggle with your entire team?
It presented itself in so many different ways. It's not funny. One system would get updated with the most current data, and then the other system would never get updated. Simple things like, when we had an RFQ in one of our other systems, it would never get marked as won or lost. So we never really could capture any key KPIs as far as, what's the effectiveness of our sales staff or our vendors or other items, just, an easy illustration of that. So, and that presented itself through our warehouse, through inventory, through almost every business unit that we have inside of our building.
So you have all these systems. It's obviously you don't want to overcomplicate the initial phased effort, right? But you identified Salesforce as a platform, right?
Yep.
To kind of silo all of these processes and roles and business information processes within one platform to at least start there. What were the main qualifications you were looking for as far as the technology platform between the CRM and the ERP?
Well, just as a general rule, the way we present ourselves to our customers is that we're flexible and we can pivot to anything they pretty much need. So we needed that same ability from a platform level with our technology that we were operating out of. While we were able to do that because of all the different systems we had previously, we needed somebody that could silo all that data into one house and then still give us that same pivot ability to be able to service a customer's needs that might be a little bit different, or some of our competitors might say, no, we can't do that. So that was the biggest checkpoint that we had to hit with every box and with everybody that we evaluated. And I think we looked at just about everybody under the sun for CRM, for ERP, and even e-com. And it just, at the end of the day, it made the most sense given the flexibility of the platform with Salesforce, Rootstock, B2B to keep it there.
Mentioned B2B, the e-commerce solution's a big part of your implementation.
Yeah.
What were those vital qualifications and what struck with B2B that went with your selection?
Well, we looked at a few different solutions. The fact that B2B had everything from checkout processes to, I won't say it's a full product management information kind of module, but it was sufficient enough for us to be able to go forward. That it gave us the ability. One of the things that we have with our platform is that we have probably almost 2 million different SKUs that we have loaded into our system. With that comes a lot of management. It comes a lot of data that goes along with that from product specifications and everything else. And to segment that out into another platform, we felt like to go anywhere else, it would have just been recreating what we already had. So the fact that B2B offered us an ability to be able to create pages on the fly for product details, to have that experience builder that allowed us to get away from an environment where we were doing everything with HTML code beforehand, and then just to be able to house the amount of products that we're putting into the system and be able to still have it produce efficiently on the website. All of that was really critical for us. So so far it's meeting expectations.
And the why you selected Rootstock to be involved as far as the ERP is concerned from a solution on the Salesforce platform is table stakes, right? Having everything under one platform. not having to have an integration management entirely within NAC is critical. Outside of that obvious benefit of having everything under the Salesforce umbrella, why was Rootstock and Salesforce selected overall? Is it functionality, the vitality, the sustainability? What was it that really resonated with everybody?
A little bit of all of that. The one environment definitely made it better. There was other options we could have selected that maybe could have led us down a path of, we can get the best in class of every single thing. But at the end of the day, we wanted to have that one environment that was providing a environment for success for our sales staff, for our different organizational departments. And ultimately, at the end of the day, the Salesforce Rootstock B2B marriage was the only one that really gave us that ability to do that. Is there other routes we could have gone? Yeah, absolutely, without a doubt. But we felt that that was the healthiest decision for our staff, and given the demographics of our team. We're in Florida, so we have a lot of employees that are, elderly, or not full on elderly, but they're older, and adaptation to technology can be a little bit tougher. So the less systems, the better. So for us, that was a critical part to the whole decision.
Great. And it takes a village to get this off, right? There's several partners involved here. Rootstock, we're an implementation partner of Rootstock, and we're supporting the Rootstock professional services team, who's another partner within this implementation. We're talking a lot here. We're implementing an ERP, we're implementing B2B commerce, we're going through all the iterations of what's working fantastically currently with our website at NAC. What do we want to completely reinvent?
Right.
What are these SKU challenges that we have, the BOM challenges that we have? There's a lot of challenges with, the way you sell your product. It's just a very dynamic use case, right?
Correct.
How has the partnership between Rootstock and Mountain Point throughout this implementation really assisted you all in understanding that this timeline has changed, right? For the good, I would say. But speak a little bit to that.
The partnership's been critical. I think we've done a really good job of managing expectations between the group. Obviously, Tony, I work pretty closely with you, and I see Joe Hare's on here as well. Joe's experience and everything on the Rootstock side has been absolutely critical. There's been plenty of times he'll steer me in a direction that's better off for the platform, and maybe it's a little bit different than the way we've considered something traditionally, or done something traditionally. It says, no, you want to go this route instead. But the Mountain Point team with Kylie and Patrick and Tony, of course, has just been absolutely critical to the success. They hear us out, even where, maybe we don't understand why there's been an ask on one side. Mountain Point will say, well, here's the reality, and here's what's going on, and you want to do this so it's better for development long term. And that's that guidance and almost consultation's been critical to us to understand, okay, what do we got to do? What do we got to change? It's taken a village for sure, but it's been a fun project to work on.
You've also been growing at a pretty incredible rate in the midst of this implementation, so that adds a little bit of complexities to everybody.
Yeah, we've doubled our size and revenue as a company the last 3 years in a row, so it's been quite the complex. What started out as we thought it was just going to be a 50 user system has turned into 150 almost now. Yep. So it's definitely gotten more complex.
It's exciting though.
Yeah, it's great. As a guy that's been here for 16 years, it's absolutely awesome to see and be a part of. So I got no complaints.
I love it. So we're approaching this finish line as the village, right? To get to this go live in the next 60 to 90 days. Everybody's got the decision maker within their organization. They hear these stories. Oh, that's fantastic, right? B2B, Rootstock, it's on Salesforce, this pipe dream. What advice from your perspective would you give to any decision maker that's in your seat in other organizations? enlightening perspective or any type of advice that you would give to them?
Number one is I'm extremely excited about once we get live on these platforms and get everybody working on it. It's going to be a huge upgrade to our current systems. Obviously, there's an adoption period that has to go through. Biggest piece of advice I could give is going into it with an open mind. Don't constrict yourself to thinking, well, we've always done it this way, we have to do it that way. There's definitely a lot to be said for the reasons that you're leaving the platform you're on, and you got to be open to changes that come with it, and that's going to affect different people at different ways in every role that is experiencing the system that you're putting in place. So that's going to rub some people. That's going to be tough for some people because maybe it's been a security blanket for them. That's some stuff that I've dealt with. But absolutely, it's worth the decision. It's worth the effort. The other piece of advice is if you have data cleanup projects, start on it day one, because man, is it more time consuming than you will ever imagine that it actually is. So by all means, that's my biggest advice.
Great. Well, James, really appreciate your time. We'll plan on having you back as the dust settles with each one of these components within this implementation. It's a complex one. We're not going to do it all in one call, but it's a really cool story, really cool client, great partnerships across the board within this. So appreciate your time, James. Thanks, man.
No problem. Thanks a lot for having me, guys.
Perfect.
All right, Logan, I think it's yours.
Yeah, I was going to ask real quick. We don't want to take too much of James' time, but did anyone from the group have any specific questions or anything like that before we get into Mr. Logan? I think I had one question. It's a nice, easy one, but I was curious of how many folks on the NAC side did you guys have involved with the implementation? Obviously, the partners involved, but just kind of curious of what that looked like, or is it a one-man wrecking show?
It touches a lot of different desks, but not full time. There's two people that are pretty much on it full time. It's myself and Mark. We have a couple other people that are specific areas. So we've basically assembled a data cleanup team that is going through and working in different areas. That's about 6 people. And then we've got a person that's just focused on B2B page content creation, all of that kind of stuff. So I would say in total, it's about 7 or 8 people. And then you've got, of course, executive sponsors and all that kind of other stuff that are just kind of monitoring from afar, but that's, a different level.
Yeah, no, thanks for the insight, because I know different folks on the call are listening in on the recording. I'm sure we'll have all sorts of different size teams, and wondering if they can, handle an implementation of that caliber, or, I've seen it on the lower scale, but I've also obviously seen it on the higher scale. So good to hear that. But well, thanks again. And
one thing to add to that's on the development side too, mostly.
Yep.
The other side of it is, once you get to pilot testing and everything else, there's a whole nother set of core users that are getting brought into it so that they can test it and make sure it fits all their job functionality. So that's another 7 or 8 people that are part of that. They're going to be the experts for their organizational departments.
Exactly. Functional expertise. No, that's definitely good to hear. And well, thanks again for your time. And I don't think we had any other questions. If you are, interrupt me.
All right. Thanks, guys.
Thanks.
Thanks,
All right.
James.
Yeah. And yeah, thanks again, Tony. And we'll let Logan keep things rolling with an intro and then get into it.
Of course. Thanks, Jason.
I think the Eigen guys are on mute, just as a heads up. If one of you is actually connected into the system, you could always just use that audio, because I know you guys are in the same room. So just as a heads up there, and if you're having issues with the laptop, sometimes the mobile works pretty darn well as well for that. Looks like Taylor came off mute, so that might be a good one. You might just want to mute one of the others.
All right, now try it.
Sounds good, except you might have one.
All right,
You might have one other speaker on there. That's what it sounds like.
Still sound like that?
Nope, it's all good now.
All right, cool. All right, guys. Thank you again for the invite here to join this group. Actually, in my past life, I was doing industrial automation, so I worked with robotics and vision systems and all that fun stuff. So it's kind of good to hear it all again, and it's nice to hear that there's also some of the same issues that maybe we can help out with. So the first part, I am, as you can see on the other screen, today I'm talking about MuleSoft. For those of you who aren't familiar with MuleSoft, MuleSoft is an ETL tool, or ELT, which simply means extract, transfer, load, or extract, load, transfer. I wish it was as simple as that, but there's also some nuances that go into it. But in the end, it's intended to make your life easier from one system to the next. So a few areas where this is beneficial in manufacturing is that there is you can connect to a variety of systems used by all the different companies. So you have your inventory management, you have production scheduling, and you have to facilitate improved data sharing and communication. So that can help with that. So MuleSoft can help with that problem. Another thing, I know the Internet of Things has always been kind of pressing, even more so as we advance in technology. So what this does is allows devices, with valuable data and for production processes and equipment performances. So it can integrate with all those other systems that you're using for insights in your manufacturing processes. Another thing, it can streamline your supply chain management. There's often a complex supply chain with all these manufacturing companies. By working with the suppliers and logistic providers, it allows for more efficient management there. Another couple things, just improve customer experience and also implement real-time analytics. And we'll kind of touch on those a little bit as I look through this slide. So with this release for MuleSoft, it wasn't much. A lot of the last one was talked about the RPA enhancements. So I'll touch on that real quick. So what an RPA is robotic process automation. What that does is allows you to make bots or do different things within MuleSoft's Anypoint platform to kind of automate different tasks throughout the day, so you're not tied to being there clicking a button several times. So with this, they introduced asset types in the MuleSoft Exchange. So what that does is allows you to kind of build a user journey and publish those assets along the way. So it's very much kind of a flat dimensional design that you can now make and be able to use that within the RPA builder. And also feel free to stop me if you need clarification or if something doesn't make sense, because I know we only have a few minutes. So the next area is the MuleSoft Accelerator enhancements. This is on the Anypoint Exchange, which is more or less just the App Store or Android marketplace for your MuleSoft integrations. The big thing here is that they've provided 3 times faster accelerators for 3 main areas of financial services, consumer goods, and healthcare. The next part is the MuleSoft connectors. The big takeaway from this was that they can now allow for Azure Key Vaults, which simplifies the process of aligning your best practices and securing the workflow. So anyone who's used Azure in the past knows that even the Microsoft Authenticator uses things like that to make sure that everything's behind a secret key or client secret, so nothing is easily accessible to the outside world. The next one is Anypoint Studio. This is where all the design happens and kind of the main, I guess, meat and potatoes of the MuleSoft software. And the main thing from this, surprisingly enough, was just kind of this improved copy and paste experience. There's been issues in the past, but apparently those have all been touched up and improved upon, as well as they deployed the Cloud Hub 2.0, so just makes project creation easier. So with that Studio as well, they've also cut down on memory usage by 10% and CPU usage by another 5%. So just making things faster and more efficient. And the last thing is MuleSoft Direct for industry clouds. So what this is doing now is there is a direct secure connection between your industry standards, between like the health cloud and the financial services cloud from FHIR or BIAN, integrations there. So this allows, pretty much MuleSoft in a nutshell, just allows for easy connectivity between different multiple platforms or resources, just to bring it underneath one umbrella and to distribute to the rest of the company. That's all I have on the MuleSoft. I know it's a pretty quick rundown, but if anyone has any questions, I'm happy to answer them. And if there's nothing,
I think there's it's less of a question, but more of on the MuleSoft side, it's interesting, right? Because obviously, it being Salesforce's main ETL, ELT product out there, kind of trying to figure out, which use cases is it best for. Obviously, it's enterprise level solution. So, thanks again for tying it a little bit more toward the manufacturing side of things, and giving a bit of a insight of what kind of upgrades they're doing to it and enhancements, just like all the other products out there. But I don't know if anyone else has anything else to add to that. That was just kind of my 2 cents on the matter.
Yep. Thank you, guys. And I'll so next up, I believe, is Andrew. Is that right on the list?
Yeah. So we're going to be going over the upgrades to Marketing Cloud and then Marketing Cloud account engagements, which I'll just start there. So Marketing Cloud account engagements is what was Pardot. One of the updates from this release was that they just sort of acknowledge that if you use Pardot, you'll notice that it's, although in like marketing terms for Salesforce, they keep referring to it as account engagements, but everywhere actually in Salesforce, it's still Pardot. So they just sort of published that they're working on that, but they don't have like an exact timeline for when all of the Pardot references are going to be removed. But that if in the near future, they will be removing all the Pardot references and changing it to Marketing Cloud account engagements. So then from there, so specifically on the Marketing Cloud side of things, a lot of the big updates were to Marketing Cloud Intelligence, so they changed around, with Marketing Cloud Intelligence, they changed around the visual pivot tables. They've changed it around to be more visually consistent with the way the rest of Marketing Cloud Intelligence looks. So it sort of used to look like a little bit out of place. Now it sort of fits in more with that. They've added like a new field panel to make it a little bit easier to edit. You're able now to edit directly on the pivot table page. We previously had to open that all up in like a new tab. You can filter from the panel and pivot table headers, which you previously couldn't do. There's like some new visualization options and table views, which they didn't have in the past. And now there's a bi-directional relationship between the pivot tables and the dashboard widgets, but they didn't have in the past. So they've upgraded the data stream controller center. So this is like where you can see all the connections that Marketing Cloud has with data. They've added like this new data stream control center where you can more easily see which of your data streams are working and which ones aren't working. As well, you can see how recently they were refreshed, so how frequent the data is. And if any of it's failed, it lets you know more easily, so you can check like first thing in the morning, hey, is any of this data not coming through accurately? I'm gonna make any changes as needed. And then there's also now usage forecasting available where you can just more accurately predict how much data is flowing through for if there's any cost you have associated with that or anything like that. And then so outside of that, they've added an integration with WhatsApp. So you can now include WhatsApp in your customer journeys through Marketing Cloud. So like part of that will be if you have chats in Marketing Cloud and you text or message someone through WhatsApp a question, you can send them on different journeys through Marketing Cloud journeys based on their responses. So you can sort of have like yes or no question responses or 1 through 5, depending on their answer. You can ask them different questions and send them on different routes based on that, that's going to be a new feature. And And then on more of the Pardot / Marketing Cloud account engagement side, so one, if anyone was using the beta version of the Slack connection, that has now been retired. It was retired as of Monday this week. But so the actual development version is now ready. So you just have to sign up for that through Marketing Cloud account engagement. There's a setting now they've enabled where you can sign up for this. And yeah, so you can sign up for that. And now you can, one of the big use cases they recommended was if you have really highly qualified leads coming in through Pardot, you can directly message your sales users through Slack, hey, this highly qualified lead came in, and you can just like notify them directly in your Slack channel. So it could go to individual users as you want, or say your sales group you have in Slack, you could alert everyone that this highly qualified lead came in. And then so this customer platform advertising, they really did not give too much details on what this is going to entail. But they're expanding the advertising data you can bring in the Marketing Cloud. And it sort of seems like we'll learn more once the features are really rolled out. And then some other things on the Pardot side, they've added a business unit optimizer for Pardot, so you can improve email send time and just keep visitor tracking running smoothly, because people, if you have any like sync errors or anything along that lines, it'll sort of work to address those issues from like a system-wide perspective to hopefully reduce the number of issues you experience there. And then they're also changing the sending domain validation. Anything that's set up right now through DNS will need to be reset up through DKINS. So that will definitely impact some users if anyone's using Pardot and they're currently set up through DNS. And then also for future users of Pardot, they're going to be automatically turning on first-party tracking, on or do not track, and request opt-in will just sort of be default on. And then also the retiring WebEx and ReadyTalk connector. And then on the Marketing Cloud side of things, filtering with formula fields is no longer supported. So I know we've had a number of clients who use filtering on formula fields in Marketing Cloud. So I'm sure you've already experienced those issues if you are using that. But if not, take a look at that, because you can definitely run into some issues there. And then also all the Marketing Cloud Connect workflows are being updated to flows automatically. There shouldn't be anything you need to do there. And now they're also adding some support for Marketing Cloud. You can import and export directly with Google Cloud Storage, where you previously couldn't do that. So that's been a big benefit. And then last thing is that you can download data extension storage files as CSV now for Marketing Cloud, which you previously couldn't. And yeah, that seems to be a majority of the updates they've made there. Any questions or anything?
I think on my side of things, curious of for Marketing Cloud and some of these types of enhancements is, really, I think it's probably not in this release, but it's where it goes in future releases. And obviously marketing is used in every business unit and for the most part, and it's pretty across the board for manufacturers or different industries and things like that. But it'll be interesting to see where things go and how they get a little bit more specific and tied in with whether it's manufacturing cloud or some of the more cloud specific items in the manufacturing vertical. So thanks again though.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no problem. And yeah, they didn't, there wasn't really anything too specific mentioned now, but it does seem like they are going in that direction. All right, but I guess I'll now pass it over to you, Tyler.
Yep.
Do you have any slide that was on?
I think it's on one of the very first.
There it is. This one, right?
Yep.
Okay.
Yep. Hey, everyone. My name is Taylor Hutchison. I'm a part of the IGNX team here. So I'm going to be going over the Service Cloud side of it. The majority of the things I'm going to be talking about are going to be in regards to the Service Cloud voice enhancements. There was a lot of really cool enhancements with that. So one of the first things we'll talk about is the contact center. So They have what's called conversation insights, which are basically, it's like using Einstein conversation mining to help analyze different customer interactions. So if your agents are on calls with clients, it can spot trends through the words that your customers are using. And then it'll give you like a little dashboard report afterwards on the key words that they used from their side of the conversation, and you can use that to your advantage. Managers can also then go into those calls as well and listen and pinpoint where they said those keywords. And again, it can be whether it was sales or anything that's relevant to your company, or that kind of perks your ear up a little bit when you hear it from a customer. This will flag it for you, and then it'll let you know in real time. So that's a really cool feature. There's also new scheduling rules. So this helps like plan shift schedules, helps match them with agents based off of availability, their location, or their skill sets as well. Managers can also use the mass shift changes setting, and they can do that based off of seasonality, product updates, needs, things like that, and again, availability and skills of their agents. And then there's something really cool called the supervisor wallboard. So this lets you see all agent assignments, shifts, any work that's in waiting or is in progress. And it allows for better routing of resources to calls or to cases that you might already have. So going a little bit with the Service Cloud Voice, we'll come back to that in just a little bit. But those are some really cool features there. Next is a little bit about field service. So the field service app, moving a little bit more towards mobile offline extendability. So you can add Lightning Web components such as flows and actions like that offline. One of the really cool features is you can upload images in the app for work orders or service appointments. And you can even crop and emphasize certain points of contact in a picture. If something's clearly broken in an image or something like that, you can emphasize it, and you can basically edit the photo when you send it. So it gives your manager or whoever is looking at it a better description of what's exactly going on at that service appointment. And one of the other really cool features too is that you can also configure a find nearby, which is a Lightning Web component. It basically finds other records near your location when you're on a job. So say you just finished a job and you want to go to the next job, or you want to see if there's any that are around you, you can use that feature and it'll pinpoint the nearest record or case that's near you, and you can go address that. Next, again, we'll kind of be going back into Service Cloud Voice. One of the other really cool features you can do is really in real-time actions can be triggered based off of signals during a call. So for instance, if a customer is calling one of your agents and they mention something about canceling their subscription or something, so on and so forth, you can have it so it's automatically triggered a best next steps or best next actions menu for that agent, so that they can better be prepared to handle that situation and address the customer that way. There's better automation for the agents, kind of like what I mentioned with the screen pop-ups. You can do screen flows to connect callers to contacts as well. One of the really cool features is the voice ID. So you can use the find contact associated with the voice call, and this voice ID will identify based off of prior conversations. It'll pinpoint them to an exact contact. So that's really cool. It can also help detect fraud as well. So that's one of the really cool features there. If they say they're someone, but based off of prior conversations with that customer, they're actually not. So it'll help detect that as well. And there was a lot of utilization with Amazon Connect, which I thought was interesting, particularly around the outbound calls or voice call journeys. So that's something to keep in mind going forward. Some of the other interesting features here for like messaging. So for like a Facebook Messenger or those other messaging apps, there's enhanced, I know this is really important, this is enhanced emoji support. So if you're looking for that, this is providing a little bit more support there and for other attachments as well. It can also help you through the messenger transfer agents to contacts or calls. It can raise flags and conversations now, so on and so forth. So some really cool updates from the Service Cloud voice feature and messaging feature. Moving on now to a little bit more Slack or swarming. So now you can embed Slack conversations within a record with the Lightning Web Component into the page layout. So an agent will not have to leave their org so that they can go to Slack and switch back and forth. You can now see all of the related Slack chatter or swarming chatter for that related record in that page layout now. So that is really cool. One of the other features you can use is the expert finder. So it's basically a multi-select skill selection component. So you can type in some of the experts or things that you need expert help on, and it'll match you with other experts in Slack based on that skill set. Currently, it's only using and logic. So when you're searching for an expert or a couple of experts on different subjects, you have to use an and logic. It doesn't do or as of right now. So that is, again, a little bit of a limitation, but possibly something they'll address moving forward. And then there's also swarm reporting as well. So you can now report on swarm related records, and you can even report on swarm members, their work skills, so on and so forth. So some really cool features there with Slack. And then finally, with incident management. So now there's, again, kind of branching over to Slack now as well. There's a broadcast feature, which is basically, it's used through Slack. You can basically mass message your internal stakeholders or agents to let them know that there has been an incident, whether something's not working or just something you need to broadcast out to the rest of your team so that they see it. So that can be done through the incident management tool with Slack. Like I said, you can broadcast alerts out to incident managers, send in-app notifications, raise incident levels higher. A couple of different features there that have changed. And you can also automate your incident management processes as well with new flows that they've added to it, which is pretty cool. So you can have it all automated rather than someone going in and just manually raising the incident level or broadcasting certain notifications. You can have it on an automated system through some of the flows. And that's pretty much all I had. If there was any questions, I'd be happy to answer.
No, it's really nice seeing the Slack really integrations start to flow in with service, and I know in the winter 23 release there was a lot around swarming and things like that. So we'll be interested to see how they can actually continue to build on that, since the acquisition of Slack was only just rather recent, and then trying to merge that in with field service and everything in between is definitely interesting. So thanks for the insight, Taylor. I'm not sure if anyone else on the call has any questions or just really anything that they want to bring up, since that was the conclusion of the presenters for today.
Booyan, I think you're muted.
We can't hear you, Booyan, but it could be something going on with the connection. But feel free to type it in the chat if that's easiest, and we could always respond there. But if not, we could always get you on the next go around. That's all right. I think we're good there. Booyan, feel free to keep trying, but at the same point, I'm not sure if Andrew, Tony, or really anyone else who has joined today's call had any questions or anything that if you have any suggestions on topics for presentations and just overall discussion points, feel free to reach out to myself or Andrew, whether you do that in the form of the community, that's fine. Also, if you need to reach out via email, that's fine too. I'll put my email address in here as well. We're going to, as I mentioned, be ramping up the way that we're doing our marketing and things like that. So you should be seeing at least a follow-up from what we had today. We like to try to post it to 1 or 2 different outlets for video recordings. And then also going forward, we will be trying to communicate out, give or take, that 2 weeks out part for what we're going to be presenting and talking about for the monthly virtual manufacturing group meetup. I'm not sure if someone.
I think you guys are muted. Jason, can you still hear or
Hey,
still bad? You
we
got
can hear
me?
you actually now, Brilliant. We can hear you.
Oh, okay. Sorry.
Yeah.
Sorry
about
about
your
that.
question.
No, Jason, again, thank you again for this great meeting. And I'm sorry it was a little bit late for others. Obviously, with Spring 23, right? There's a lot of good features on, for the manufacturing group. I mean, 1 or 2 things to call out, which Taylor kind of addressed, especially with field service lightning coming up, which again, others should take attention to, is the asset management, which is big on, for manufacturers, to track their devices and all that. There's a small component on field service lightning, which could handle that, because a lot of manufacturers tend to ignore field service lightning because they think it's more of the field. But that's another use case, to kind of explore, and Salesforce is investing heavily on that. So just want to call out on that. And thanks, Taylor, and, for this presentation as well. And Andrew on this.
Yeah, well, thanks, Brianna. We appreciate that. And anything else, Andrew or Tony, before we probably hit stop on the recording and give everyone maybe a few minutes back in their Thursday afternoon?
Yeah, all good from our end. Appreciate everybody's time today and the presentations.
Okay.
All right, thanks, everyone. Really enjoyed everyone's thoughts and comments.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Cheers all.